Hi and welcome to the first new moon in Gemini with Uranus in the same sign. So ever since Uranus moved into Gemini, this is the first time that we have a new moon together with Uranus there. And while we have new moons all the time, and of course we have a Gemini new moon once a year, this is a very special opportunity because it gives us the opportunity to highlight these Uranus and Gemini themes that are going to play out over the next few years. Uranus takes 84 years to circle around the zodiac. And so when it moved into Gemini, it kicked off a new process that is going to bring fundamental change to our society and also to us individually, depending on where Gemini falls into our chart. So Uranus is the planet of individualization, of originality. It wants to break free. It wants to bring about truth. And it is quite rebellious, revolutionary, quantum leap kind of energy. And in the sign of Gemini, it moves fast, not like when it was in Taurus. And so now we really have an opportunity to reprogram our thinking and to update our stories. You know, the stories that you tell yourself, about your life, what's working, what is not. And to really go forward in life, it is necessary that you take a look at the way that you talk to yourself and the way that you talk to others. And this is what this new moon is all about, an opportunity to look within and to reframe the stories that don't work for us anymore. What makes this new moon also more special is that Uranus is squaring the nodes of the moon. So that means that it is bringing in even more of that urge for change and for an upgrade in the way that we relate to Virgo and Pisces. And with the South Node in Virgo, so stay with me if this is a lot of astrology, but basically what we're working on here is letting go of perfectionism, letting go of needing to get all the details right, and moving more towards a level of trust, going with the flow. And so all of this has to do with the way that we think again and how we process the world. And Uranus here is really urging us to step up our game. Now, while this new moon brings in a lot of mental energy just by being a new moon in Gemini and with Uranus being there, generally speaking, it might still be quite an emotional time, or, you know, especially June is quite an emotional time. And that's because we have a lot of Cancer energy. And Cancer doesn't operate as much on the rational level than Gemini. It's much more feeling-based. It is more influenced by the moon's rhythms, and there is a tendency to want to be safe at home and curled up with a book and taking care of ourselves and our loved ones. And when we ignore our need for self-care, then with Cancer we can get a little bit more moody or nostalgic or sentimental. So the ruler for this new moon is Mercury, and Mercury is in the sign of Cancer. So there might still be a tendency to feel quite emotional and to be concerned with family and home matters. And that is going to get amplified with Jupiter also in Cancer. So Jupiter was moving through Cancer for the last year and a half or so, and it's ending its time in Cancer. And so these themes, they get a little stronger again so that we work through them before it moves into Leo by the end of this month. So generational patterns and traumas that have been passed down, especially through the mother line, the way that we care for ourselves and others, what's family, what's home for us, how we connected to the land. All these themes are relevant here. And a lot of the things that feel quite fossilized and, you know, generational stuff that feels quite heavy, this new moon might help us to zoom out, see those things in a bit more of a objective, rational way, and then take the first steps to a quantum leap kind of change with Uranus in Gemini there. So that, I think, is quite exciting. And then the other thing that's happening around this new moon is that Venus will have moved out of Cancer into Leo. And when it moves into Leo, it's like it's getting out of its, little shell and out on the center stage to be seen, to be celebrated, to be loud and dramatic and colorful. And we have a little more depth to this though, because we have Pluto on the other side in Aquarius, challenging Venus here. So it is as if Pluto is asking us to review our themes around Venus, which is how do we relate to ourselves? What's the relationship we have to ourselves and then to others? What's our relationship to pleasure? Is it all work and no pleasure? Are we being super strict to ourselves? Are we loving to ourselves? Are we overindulging in things? And then relationships. Are we being honest and fair, or is there control issues or secrets within our relationships that we're currently in? Yes, so it's asking us to dive a little deeper and be brutally honest with ourselves, and also look at our fears around, for example, being seen, being celebrated, taking up the spotlight, showing the things that we have to the world. For example, putting out an offer onto the internet. Is that super scary for you? That kind of stuff. Now, if Pluto is currently in your 7th or 5th house, then relationships are really going through a transformation for you. And with Venus opposite, that might just be a little stronger. Otherwise, for most of us, it is just a shorter transit. So it's worth looking at, but it might not be, definitely isn't as important as, for example, Uranus moving through Gemini right now. Right, so with that said, this is a wonderful new moon to look at all these themes of home, relationships, self-care, and the way that we want to move things forward, and then be able to take that first step. And ideally, you want to set your intention in the area of life that 24 degrees of Gemini falls for you, and you want to do it as close as possible to the new moon, which happens on the 14th of June at 7:53 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So just adjust to your time zone. So this new moon, quite lighthearted, great time to journal, great time to talk about things, to share, to talk with friends, and to set a new intention for something that you want to develop over the next 6 months. And that will come to fruition at the next Gemini full moon, or at least the first step of the fruition. So let's look at the houses and then see what kind of intention you may want to set depending on where this new moon falls in your chart. If this new moon falls into your first house, then it's a good time to get a little curious around how you present yourself to the world. What is your self-image that you're projecting outwards? And maybe does it need to be updated? Does it need to be rewritten? And now let's take an example to move through the houses. So let's say there is a person and she's just done her first yoga teacher training. So saying I'm a yoga teacher still feels quite foreign to her, feels kind of weird to her, but she's stepping into that role. And so for her, a good affirmation would be, I am a yoga teacher and I love sharing what I learn about yoga. Overcoming that imposter syndrome here. The first house, that is the start of something new a lot. Then we have the second house. If this new moon falls into your second house, then I want you to get curious and ask questions around the values that you have. What makes you feel stable and secure? In our example with the yoga teacher, she might want to ask herself if she prefers living in a shared apartment with other people and being able to teach yoga full-time, or if she prefers to have a, for example, part-time job and live on her own and then do yoga on the side. So these are just values. What does she value more? Is it the money that comes in safely every month, or is it the more time that she has if she doesn't have that part-time job? And questions around finances, wanting to start something fresh there, wanting to start a new income is a big second house theme. So for her, a good affirmation that she could use is, I'm enjoying the abundance that's already in my life and grateful for what's still to come. If this new moon falls into your third house, then get curious about how you use your voice. How do you speak to yourself and others? What do you believe? Which stories do you tell yourself? And this might be a good time to start a new project where you're speaking up, where you're sharing your voice with others. For the yoga teacher, for example, maybe she is putting up a website, starting a social media account, putting her offers out on the internet, being heard, telling people about her yoga classes. And a good affirmation for the third house could be, it's safe for me to speak my truth and share what I'm excited about. If this falls into your fourth house, then this is a good time to get curious about what home means for you, and to maybe look a little more into your own psychology. So this is a call to go a little bit more inwards, to rest, to reflect, and to build that safe place for yourself where you can relax, where you feel comfortable. And so for the for yoga teacher, for example, it could be again questions around where she wants to live, but an affirmation could be, it is safe for me to rest and relax. If this new moon falls into your fifth house, then I want you to think about the way that creativity, joy, fun, what role do they play in your life? How much time do you make for it? And look at your creative projects, and are you able to bring them out into the world? Are you able to allow others to see your gifts and your talents? So for the yoga teacher, for example, is she, how comfortable does she feel with the spotlight on her while she's teaching? Having to be in that role of being center stage for that time while she is guiding her students through a class. And how much is she allowing to be herself rather than just trying to copy her teachers? And so a affirmation for the fifth house could be, I love to share my passions in the most authentic way. When this new moon falls into your sixth house, then there's a focus on your daily routines, on your responsibilities, your work, your health as well. So where do you need to take a bit more responsibility in your daily life, and what would you like to change in your routines, for example? What would you like to implement maybe? So sixth house has to do with service. So for a yoga teacher, for example, this is not just about her being, on stage while she teaches. It's also about prepping the room before her students come in, cleaning the mats, cleaning the floor, serving them tea. So being of service to others. How can she be of best of service? Well, this has to do with work a lot. An affirmation, if that feels sometimes a little overwhelming, could be, I trust myself to get it all done. With the seventh house, now your relationship are in focus. So all the close relationships, traditionally that would be marriage, but this is also about close friendships or business relationships. So finding that balance between you and me, being curious about the other person, being open to them, understanding them, and being able to commit as well. So with the seventh house as a focus, for example, with the yoga teacher, maybe she gets or she's setting an intention of finding the right business partner that she wants to do projects with, yoga related or retreats or any of these things. And then finding ways to collaborate in a way that works best for both of them. An affirmation for them is, I attract interesting, open-minded relationships that feel stable and loving, for example. Now, if this new moon falls into your eighth house, then that's a call to go deep within your own psyche again. With Gemini in the 8th house, you have the ability to bring a little bit more of a lightheartedness to this and be able to share a lot about what's going on within you, your wounds, your triggers, your fears with other people, which is a beautiful thing. Just also make sure that you're able to feel the feelings and not just stay on a thinking level alone. So if this falls into your 8th house, with the example of the yoga teacher, she might, for example, use yoga as a way to release trauma that's still stored in the body. Or maybe she's getting into more taboo themes, also 8th house related, such as wanting to learn tarot or getting more interested about sex. This is about facing the intensity of life. And with the new moon here, bringing around change in that area of life. So maybe an intention could be to find a therapist and talk about your things, or write about your things, but also feel them. An affirmation could be, I allow my feelings to move through me, even if I don't fully understand them. If this new moon falls into your 9th house, then this is a call to expand your mind, to break free from your routine, to think about things in a bigger way, to zoom out and expand. So you may want to travel, you may want to study something new, you want to explore something else, and you may want to think about what sparks your interest. Maybe there's something new that you'd like to learn. So for our yoga teacher, she may set an intention of finding a meditation teacher training or traveling to India. Or maybe she wants to take her teaching to a bigger level and, not just share asana practice, but also talk about the philosophy that is behind it. So sharing, writing is an expression of the 9th house here as well. An affirmation for this house could be, I love the thrill of stepping into the unknown. If this new moon falls into your 10th house, then your public life is more in focus and your role within society, your status, your career is in the spotlight here. So how do you want to participate to the greater society community that you're part of? For example, with this placement or with the new moon in the 10th house, for the yoga teacher, maybe she would like to be featured in the local newspaper and write about the relevance of yoga. That could be an expression of that, really allowing herself to step into her power, to being seen publicly. And an affirmation for the 10th house here could be, it's safe for me to step into my power and be seen. If this new moon falls into your 11th house, then this is about finding the right people, the right community that support your dreams and goals for the future. And generally, community itself, being able to open up to the masses. So if you, for example, want to share more on the internet about something that is truly important to you, if there's a social cause that is important to you, you want to find people that also want to do something about that. These are all 11th house related themes. And for example, for our yoga teacher, maybe she wants to build more of a community and starts to have events at her studio that are not just around practicing yoga, but getting to know each other and building new friendships and new networks. She could also do a donation-based program for people that are not as privileged and can't afford a yoga class. Or she may want to put her videos on YouTube for everyone to see. So these are all 11th house expressions. And an affirmation for the 11th house could be, I build community by being my authentic self. If this new moon falls into your 12th house, then this is a call to go inwards, to find solitude, to reconnect with what you may want to call divinity or a flow state, creativity, and see what comes through a non-rational way. So a cool thing to do if this falls into your 12th house, you could do intuitive writing, where you put your pen down and you keep writing without stopping, even if you don't know what you're going to say next, because this unlocks something of your subconscious. So Gemini is very good at writing, and we want to work with our subconscious here. Sometimes when we have 12th house activities, something is coming to an end. So allow whatever needs to fall away, and then take that time to go inwards to see what new is coming up. An affirmation for the 12th house here could be, I allow my creativity and spiritual gifts to come forth now. Thank you so much for listening to this new moon update. I hope you have a wonderful, social, fun new moon. And I hope you also take the time to just sit with yourself, journal a little bit, and take that first step into a fresh new future for yourself. All the best, and see you soon. Thank you.